I'm going to be 90. My birthday is July 22nd, 1935. When I was born, it was just Mom, Dad, and myself. Until 4 years later, they had my brother, Jimmy. I knew Polish, but my father was very strong in wanting us to be, quote, Americans. And so he did not encourage us to speak Polish. And so we were never taught the language. We lived in a little apartment in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I realized later in life that there was respect was very high in the family, clan, if you will. No interrupting, no disrespect toward elders, no swearing. The adults got away with it, but we couldn't. Angels and God were high on the roster of conversation, reminding us always that the angel, good and bad angels, were on your shoulders, but God saw everything. Well, my grandmother that we ended up living with after our mom died, she was strong. She was a very strong individual. She was not a loving, cuddly, touchy-feely Grammy. She worked very hard. My other grandparents, my mom's dad and mom, I remember them as being very soft, and they were very loving toward each other. It surprised me that these two old people would sit on the couch. She would refer to him as Johnny, very softly, and he would call her Mama. And they would hold hands, sitting on the couch and talking in Polish. Well, that was the big deal, to see my mother's parents being outwardly soft and gentle with each other. And they had 5 children, and they were soft and gentle toward their children also. Yes, to own an orphanage. I think it stemmed from my mother dying when Jimmy and I were so young, and the thought of, well, what's going to happen to us now? And I had thought, I wonder there are other kids going through this too. And so therefore, I'm going to open an orphanage where they can all come. I loved school. I loved going to Catholic school. And I went to Catholic school up to and inclusive 7th grade. And I really cried when I had to go to public school. I loved the nuns, and I really loved going to church every day. And I loved the whole thing about the Mass and everything. Reading, without a question. We had a nun who every afternoon, 1/2 hour before we were dismissed, would read us out of a storybook. We put our heads on our desks, on our hands, and relaxed, and she would read, and she could change her voice into the characters. So it was wonderful. Yeah. I hope my kids remember the behind the couch puppet theaters I did, and the reading and the dancing we did all together. I wonder if they could still do the dance. Them bones going to jump around. after prom, we all went to the Drake Hotel. And I think there was 6 or 8 of us, so there were 4 couples of us, I think. And when the bill came, we were short of money. We couldn't pay. And so what to do?
What?
Well, that favorite sister-in-law I told you about later, and her husband lived about an hour drive away. And so my husband called them and said, hey, we're in a pickle. We're in Chicago at the Drake. None of us have enough money for the bill. And they said, come on over, get the money. And that's what he did. But we all sat there. And the waiter, of course, in that time kept making us feel uncomfortable. But he came to the rescue, or they did, gave him the money and paid the bill. I went in my later years, well after 40, I think about 45. I loved going, I loved the challenge. I always have loved to read and learn. I was better student in college than I was in my earlier years. And my goal was to become a physical therapist. One of the highlights of college was my invitation to join a sorority after being the oldest student in most every class I took. I've worn many, many caps. I was a soda jerk while I was going to high school. I worked in a bake shop for one day because the woman who ran it was a German. I couldn't take her direction. After that, I became a cashier attendant at a gas station in Glen Ellen. And I took that job because I could see my kids going to their schools. While I was working, they would always stop in because they were going to the junior high down the street. And from there, I helped my husband start his business. He was a contractor, and I worked with him for about 5 years, steady. And then after that, I went into an office to work part-time. And after that, I was first a CNA at a Bloomingdale pavilion, part-time. And that opened the door to working with seniors who were in need. And from there, I went to DuPage Convalescent as a CNA. And after 2 years, I was bumped into the more professional attitude there of being a recreational activity director. And I loved it. 14 years of absolute love and joy, going and coming, from the patients, me, and me to them. I retired from
there.
I'd say live life.
Thanks for speaking.
Experience all you can. But be sure it brings you happiness, not shame or so much excitement that that's all you want is another excitement.
It's perfect.
Appreciate the smallest things you can, because there are so many gifts that are all around you, and you just have to focus. Take inventory and see them. Dick Lawler, Richard Lawler. We married in 1954. I was 19 and he was 21. The cost of it. The whole cost of our wedding reception sit-down dinner was $175. The whole cost. The wedding photographer was a student from the Immaculate Conception, and he was not very good at it. The pictures were terrible. After the wedding reception, we all convened at my dad's house. My uncles and aunts from Milwaukee were there, and Dick's relatives went to his house to convene. And I was told later that my aunts and uncles, we were married on a Saturday, and the wedding fun lasted at my dad's house for 3 days. They slept there, they ate there, they played poker, they cooked together, they laughed together and danced in the little rooms we had. So we missed a good party. Dick and I. The first thing is open communication. No matter what's on each other's plate, talk about it. Talk about it. Don't argue about it and talk. And for God's sakes, don't hold it in. Talk about it. Shelley, Todd, Lisa, Linda, Tracy, Charlie, and Janine. Well, all of them achievers, hardworking, loving, caring, God-fearing, respectful. Those are the characteristics of the Lawler clan. Shelley is a shortness for the name I really wanted to name her, Michelle. My favorite sister-in-law had a friend in the social life they were building in Glen Ellen who was having a baby at the same time, and she had the name Michelle picked out. And so my sister-in-law felt it best I named my first baby something else, and I didn't want to lose my sister-in-law's friendship, so to appease her, I named my first baby Shelley. It's Todd Andrew. And Andrew was the second name of my father-in-law. His name is John Andrew, and so I named him Todd Andrew.
See?
Yeah. I just like the name Todd. I wanted to name her Leela. That was Dick's mother's name, but she put her foot down because she never liked her name. So the closest I could get was Lisa. Tracy is really Teresa. I always had a great deal of respect for Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and so I named her Teresa, and which again is Little Flower. Yeah. Linda, once again, I think that was from a friendship I had when I was young, and I always liked the name Linda. I thought it was a strong name, too, for a woman. But I stuck in Teresa Ann and Linda Marie. So she still had Mary in her, too. Charles is named after Grandpa Lawler. Charles John Lawler. Named after both. My dad's name was Charles, and Dick's father was named Chuck. So Charles John. He was named after both grandpas. Janine, that came about by a nurse after baby birth, when she heard how many kids I had and all the different names and so on. And this nurse had an accent, and she said, "Personally, I love the name Yanin. Yanin." And I thought, that's pretty. I said, "How do you spell that?" And it was spelled with a J. She had this thick accent. It was spelled the way I spell it, Janine. And I had thought, oh, that's different. I'll call her Janine. But then after I got her home, nobody called her Janine because of the J. They all started calling her Janine. So there we are. Janine Beth.
Yeah.
Is her name. Yes, I think so. I think because of that orphanage thought, then I would be like the overseer or mother to many. So I've gotten my wish. We went to Florida several times with the kids. Stopping in Nashville was a big deal. Stopping in Bolingbrook was even bigger. None of them wanted to go to Florida after we hit Bolingbrook as a stop, because the Holiday Inn we stopped at had a pool. They had pool tables, ping pong tables, slot machines, miniature golf, all inside the hotel dome. And they thought that was so classic. Why go to Florida? Christmas was always a big deal. Yeah, that's my favorite memory. Trying to get them all to get to sleep so we could drag out the presents. Yeah. And one year my husband always wanted the biggest tree he could find. And then in July we were still sweeping needles out of cracks in the wooden floor and so on. And I said, please, Dick, not a big tree this year. Come on, that's enough. The kids were all bigger and Santa Claus was faded. And he said, okay, we won't get a big tree. Well, he came home with 3 of them. A mini one, a medium one, and then a medium one. So that was the year we had 3 Christmas trees. I wanted to be a good parent. I always wanted to be. I wanted to be a good girl when I was little. I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to be a good mother. And I think I've said it as a joke many years, but if I were to have a tombstone, I said I wanted the words on there, she tried.
Sure.
Yeah.
When she succeeded.
My kids have expressed, I love you, Mom, more in my later years. My kids are, they're just more attentive to me personally, and especially after I became a widow. I can recall many, many times if a kid of mine was upset or they started yelling or acting out, especially those teenagers. So I got this idea to say, go, quick, go in the bathroom, look in the mirror. See if what you like looking back at you, do you really like it? You know, and I've used that many times in this teenage years. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, even if you are tempted to do something and you do it, go look in the mirror and see if you're really glad or happy with what you see. And some of them are conning that phrase now, or had when they had younger kids. So I'm leaving them that. Look in the mirror. Every day I tell them to say, thank you, Jesus, for another day of life. And every day Take a moment to take inventory of all your blessings, and you'll be surprised how many you have. Never lose touch. Always, I use the term tentacles of touch, but every day we communicate through texting. Tracy and or Linda send out a good morning. Good morning, everybody. Have a good day. They're all on that as a group text. And so then I jump in with my thank you, God, for another day of life, and count your blessings and say thanks. Never lose touch with each other, and practice forgiveness. Yeah. And love, I would say. And thankfulness. Pray. Pray together. And they all do. In texting, in telephoning, there's always I'll pray for you, you pray for me. So I feel they're all praying. But I think that's it, pray together. That they have all grown into wonderful people. All of them. To most of my grandchildren, I'm just known as something I put the law down to. I want to be known as Grammy until I am in that rocking chair with fluffy slippers and a house coat on. Then you can call me Grandma. But now I am Grammy to all of them. I think the rewards of being a grandparent are almost undescribable. And I see my grandchildren, but I know they came from my son. And that alone is like a wow, you know. I never thought you would have 2 children. And now I see Janine, for instance, raising the 2 boys by herself, really. And those boys are so fine. The happiness it brings me to just watch them. You know, having the gift of time to sit back and observe them. I think that's great. I would say the grandchildren have taught me that I still have a purpose. I'm still, I guess I'm still valued for who I am. That's what they've taught me, but mostly that I have a purpose. And they encourage me a lot. To always love their mommy and daddy, no matter what. Good morning. To be stronger. Absolutely. To have cultivated oneself to be strong. That's it.
Okay.
All about changed. I guess it sounds cornball, but I'm so thankful, more thankful, especially in latter years. I was always thankful, I think, because I was told to be. But now it's my own free will. And so I use that to be more thankful. I think that would be the biggest thing I notice about myself. Oh yes, what used to be so important is not important. It's not that important to go shopping. It's not that important to have money. I guess it's materialistic things don't seem that important to me that much anymore. The old saying, I've been there, done that. I've had it. And I don't need it anymore. Yeah. Well, for years I told you I feared being alone or dying. And I have overcome being alone. I'm never alone anymore. I may be lonesome, but I'm not alone anymore. And when I'm lonesome, I almost find being alone a pleasure. And death, I don't fear it anymore. I don't know as I can honestly say I'm looking forward to it, but I don't fear it anymore. It's too short. It's too short. No matter whether it be years or months or something, there's just so much to do and learn and experience. That's when I'm talking about being too short.